Thanks for joining me. I'm meteorologist Dan Henry with a tropical update here. We're watching two named systems right now. One is a major hurricane. You've probably heard of it, Hurricane Maria, right now about 350, 400 miles from the east coast of Florida. And then way out in the central Atlantic, we have our underdog, Tropical Storm Lee, a tiny little fluff of a storm that's not expected to harm anything. And certainly, least of all, have impacts here in the United States. So I'll focus mainly on Maria here. Notice on satellite imagery how big the eye was and how the eye wall is condensing a little bit. Sometimes that's a sign of an eye wall replacement cycle where the storm could be reorganizing, but I think it's a sign the storm is beginning to weaken for the final time down to what's likely a Category 1 hurricane by the time it draws a little closer to the United States. So I do say closer to the U.S., but I don't mean closer to Florida, as the storm is expected to continue its north-northwest movement. It's currently a Category 3 storm with winds of 115 miles per hour sustained, but as it heads north, it's going to encounter cooler waters, increased areas of wind shear and dry air, and finally some landmass interaction possibly by Wednesday or Thursday as the current track has shifted to the west, and now there could be direct impacts to the Outer Banks of North Carolina or potentially the Delmarva Peninsula from Maria. So here are the latest spaghetti models showing where the storm could go, and notice that there's a little bit of a hesitation here before a trough likely picks up the storm, a frontal boundary, and pushes it out to sea with a little bit of haste by Friday. So let's see what that would look like on the European model. Notice that the storm is going to remain offshore Florida, so some dangerous rip currents possibly along the east coast of Florida, but again, no direct impacts to us. The storm hesitates and pauses a little bit, possibly Wednesday or Thursday, so not a great time to plan your vacation out to Nags Head or Ocracoke, but then by the time you get into Friday, the storm is likely to be picked up by that trough of low pressure and pushed out to sea. Now here we go. Here's our underdog, the people's champ, Tropical Storm Lee, a small little system that's been circling around out here in the central Atlantic for about a week and a half. It's older than Maria. That's why it's got the L name. It's 45 miles per hour in intensity and expected to actually become a hurricane. So shipping interests need to pay attention to Lee, but for now we'll just be glad and thankful that yet another tropical storm is not set to affect us, and there are no other areas to worry about for tropical activity over the next 7 days.